Hello, you guys. Welcome to my channel, All Things Militia, where I discuss a lot about what's going on in the political world and topics that pertain to everyday life in general. Happy Sunday. Shout out to all of my subscribers. Hope you guys have had a wonderful weekend. Don't forget, if you see a video that you like, to give your girl a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. I wanted to come on here today, you guys, just to discuss truth versus lies, reality versus fantasy, fiction versus nonfiction. Seems like more and more today we're living in a society where truth is being suppressed while lies are being allowed to run rampant. But I want to go off into this politically. I have a congressman, Congressman Wesley, who's pretty much giving his point of view regarding the Democrats likening voter ID and all this stuff that's been happening lately with the redistricting maps that hasn't been going in the favor of the Democrats, likening it to black folks being disenfranchised and claiming that it is similar to Jim Crow, which, if you know anything about Jim Crow, those were basically laws that were put in effect after the Civil War to practically keep blacks in the same state that they were in during slavery. But let's hear what Congressman West had to say about that.
Democrats invoke the pain of the past because they have nothing to offer for the present. They want outrage, they want division. They want Americans to fight each other because chaos is politically useful to them. Words like racism and white supremacy and Jim Crow 2.0. Let's take a hard look at what real Jim Crow was. This is Jim Crow. This is what Democrats call Jim Crow. That is Jim Crow. For whatever reason, this is what Democrats call Jim Crow. That is Jim Crow. This is what Democrats call Jim Crow. I know that some of these images can seem to be very jarring to many of us that haven't experienced that over the course of the past 40 years of my lifetime. I never saw these things. I never experienced them personally, but I have family members who have and who did. And that's why it is extraordinarily important for us to be very, very careful with what we compare to Jim Crow, because this country has come a very, very long way. Democrats invoke the pain of the past because they have nothing to offer for the present.
You guys, we have come a very, very long way, and it's just interesting how there's only one particular party that has wanted to keep us back in slavery mentality, back always claiming to, like I say, fight for rights specifically for black people while not doing anything for black people. But they come under the guise of being noble, of being righteous, of, having some form of morale, when all along it's all for their own interest that they're doing these things. And he laid it out perfectly. The images. This was Jim Crow, when you saw dogs being sicked on black people, when you saw colored signs where black people were only allowed to go through the back door of restaurants or couldn't drink out of the same water fountains as white people. We're not in that day and age, and we haven't been in that day and age in some time. So for a party to keep, saying that something is that isn't, flat out lie. Just like this same party that claimed that a man is a woman, flat out lie. And I think it can be kind of confusing when you see these symbols right here. We notice these when we go to like public places and you have to use the restroom. They give these symbols so that you can know which restroom to use if you're a man and which one to use if you're a woman. And, looking at this, you say, okay, there's a difference between the symbol of a man and a woman. The man has on what appears to be pants, while the woman has on what appears to be a dress. So when you let the Democrats describe what a man or a woman is, they'll say, take this outfit off of this and put it on here, and then now you can say that that is a woman. Or take this off of him and put it on her, and now you can say that that is a man. And so you can kind of see how that can be confusing if you're just going based off of outfits. But if you're going based off of biology, the way things were from the beginning, how God created things, when he made a distinction between men and women, He took the woman out of the man, the rib, okay, and brought her to the man. So there's a clear difference between a man and a woman. And you can say by looking at the anatomy of a man, okay, there are some women that don't have this part right here. They kind of flat chested like this, kind of, I have that issue. You could say a woman may be able to have abs like this, or legs like this, and a man may be able to have legs like this. But there is one thing that is going to always define the difference between a man and a woman, and that is this little area right here in the center. Okay, no matter if he wants to cut it off, he can, but he's still going to be a man. If she wants to strap on, it doesn't matter, she's still going to be a woman. That's what makes up the difference between them. If people are confused, that's the main part, because there are some women, like I say, that are built for it tough, and there are some men that are built Skittle sweet. But this right here is going to define what is and what isn't. And if something is cut off or whatever, you just know that it's something that's dysfunctional. But it is what it is. Got to clarify things nowadays, because people, are tending to want to live in a lie. They want to create their own reality. And that's not the way God intended it. From the beginning, he said he is the truth. So when you try to take God's creation and turn it into something that he didn't intend for it to be, then you are a lie. Let's look at this comedian Dave Chappelle talking furthermore about this issue. I'm just going based off of similar to what Congressman Wesley Hunt was doing when he was trying to define the difference between Jim Crow and what was not Jim Crow. Because the Democrats are trying to say that voting rights or asking for voter ID is taking us back to the Jim Crow era, and he defined the difference between where we are now compared to that era then to let you know the truth. I'm just doing the same thing when it comes down to a man and a woman, because the same party was trying to say that a man could be a woman and a woman could be a man, and at one point couldn't even define what a woman was. But let's listen to Dave Chappelle.
I feel bad for teas, but they're so confusing. And it's not all my fault. I feel like they need to take some responsibility for my jokes. Because I didn't come up with this idea on my own. This idea that a person can be born in the wrong body. But they have to admit, that's a fucking hilarious predicament. It's really fucking funny. If it happened to me, you'd laugh, wouldn't you? That wouldn't be funny if it happened to me? I think it would be. What if it did? What if I was Chinese, but born in this nigga body? That's not funny. And for the rest of my life, I had to go around making that face. Hey everybody, I'm Chinese! And everyone get mad. Stop making that face. That's offensive. What? This is how I feel inside.
And that's the society that we're in right now, you guys, where people are going off of feelings instead of facts. It don't matter what you feel. The truth does not regard your feelings. Okay, it's the truth. It's just that. It's the truth. It's reality. And when you start living based off of feelings or what you want things to be versus what they actually are, then you are in a distorted state. Okay, you're not living in reality. You're not dealing in truth. You're not dealing in facts. And anything that does not deal in truth or facts is against our Creator. To say that you were born in the wrong body is to say that God didn't know what he intended or, made a mistake. He gave all of us our identities for a reason. Okay, whether you like it or not, agree with it or not, was brought up in a dysfunctional household which caused you to believe otherwise, it still does not negate the fact that whatever God put in place from the beginning is what is true. And speaking of truth, this video I'm going to show next is called The Inconvenient Truth About the Democrat Party. Now, I've had several conversations with African American people. And being African American and being more on the conservative side, I get a lot of backlash and people telling me, oh, you just love Trump and you this and that, because I tend to say the reason why I'm in favor of Trump, and it's true, is because I saw how the media was putting him out there. And I watched the media over the past several years, specifically when the African leader, I've said this on a few occasions, Muammar Gaddafi, prior to his assassination, I saw how our media portrayed him, or, in the public eye, versus what was really going on. And that's when I came to understand that the media's job is not to give us the truth, it's to sell us something, an agenda to go along with their, or a narrative to go along with their agenda. Okay, because if they were to tell the truth of everything, or tell the truth about the whole scope of things, a lot of people's perceptions would be different regarding Trump, regarding the Democrat Party, regarding Republicans, regarding just people in general. Okay, but when you have something in place that's depicting what they want you to see every single day, and you're not the type of person that's saying, okay, let me do research to see how true this is, you're just going to receive whatever images and whatever messages you are being given. And so that's why a lot of people are still, in my opinion, in a state of denial, refuse to believe that something is what is not, and or believes that something is something that it's not, and believes that things that are not actually are. So listen to this video. It's called, once again, The Inconvenient Truth About the Democrat Party, because a lot of people like to say that the parties have switched. Now Democrats are on the side of where Republicans were during the Civil War, and the Republicans are the new slave masters, and yada, yada, yada. And I hear people say a lot too that both parties are on the same bird, different rings on the same bird. And I can understand that, at the same time, I specifically out the Democrat Party a lot because they come under the guise of wanting to appear to be one way when they are not. You got President Obama, you got Jasmine Crockett, you got Hillary Clinton, you got so many people on that side that claim to be fighting for democracy and claim to be trying to fight for the people, but at the same time have been found to be a part of a party that has been corrupt, has more so nowadays leaning towards communism. Okay, has been behind censoring free speech, trying to go after Second Amendment rights, but claiming to fight for democracy. Did not allow you to choose your candidate in 2024, but claimed to be fighting for democracy. Claim that one side is a threat, but the side that they claim is a threat is the only side that has been threatened by assassination and assassination attempts. See how that's distorted? Let's look at it, you guys.
When you think about racial equality and civil rights, which political party comes to mind? The Republicans or the Democrats? Most people would probably say the Democrats, but this answer is incorrect. Since its founding in 1829, the Democratic Party has fought against every major civil rights initiative and has a long history of discrimination. The Democratic Party defended slavery, started the Civil War, opposed Reconstruction, founded the Ku Klux Klan, imposed segregation, perpetrated lynchings, and fought against the Civil Rights Acts of the 1950s and 1960s. In contrast, the Republican Party was founded in 1854 as an anti-slavery party. Its mission was to stop the spread of slavery into the new Western territories with the aim of abolishing it entirely. This effort, however, was dealt a major blow by the Supreme Court in the 1857 case, Dred Scott versus Sandford. The court ruled that slaves aren't citizens, they're property. The 7 justices who voted in favor of slavery, all Democrats. The 2 justices who dissented, both Republicans. The slavery question was, of course, ultimately resolved by a bloody civil war. The commander-in-chief during that war was the first Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, the man who freed the slaves. 6 days after the Confederate Army surrendered, John Wilkes Booth, a Democrat, assassinated President Lincoln. Lincoln's vice president, a Democrat named Andrew Johnson, assumed the presidency. But Johnson adamantly opposed Lincoln's plan to integrate the newly freed slaves into the South's economic and social order. Johnson and the Democratic Party were unified in their opposition to the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery, the 14th Amendment, which gave blacks citizenship, and the 15th Amendment, which gave blacks the vote. All three passed only because of universal Republican support. During the era of Reconstruction, federal troops stationed in the South helped secure rights for the newly freed slaves. Hundreds of black men were elected to Southern state legislatures as Republicans, and 22 black Republicans served in the U.S. Congress by 1900. The Democrats did not elect a black man to Congress until 1935. But after Reconstruction ended, when the federal troops went home, Democrats roared back into power in the South. They quickly reestablished white supremacy across the region with measures like black codes, laws that restricted the ability of blacks to own property and run businesses, and they imposed poll taxes and literacy tests used to subvert black citizens' right to vote. And how was all of this enforced? By terror, much of it instigated by the Ku Klux Klan.
Let me stop it right here, you guys. It's interesting that she says how they use white supremacy, because they do that still to this day. You hear the likes of Jasmine Crockett, who's a black woman on the Democrat Party side, and that's the thing that gets me. You're talking about white supremacy and all of this while representing a party that is behind that. But the way they come is deceptively, because they try to make it appear that they're coming against it. But then all you have to do is look at the policies to see what they are actually for and not. That's why when I talk a lot about the 94 crime bill, which was a bill signed by the Democrat Party that incarcerated mass numbers of African American men, that's policy. Okay, we're not talking about what you claim, what you saying in speech. We're more interested in what's being signed into law, because what's being signed into law is how we are governed. So they can come out all day long and sound pleasant and sound noble and sound to be fighting for a righteous cause, but what are the policies that you guys are behind? That's what we're interested in. And that's how they've been able to deceive many people, because they come out sounding right, and many people don't take the time to research information and to see, okay, you talk a good game, but let me see what you're about. Let me see the actions, because like the Bible say, you will know them by their fruit, what they produce. What have they produced for the for black people? You know, they always use black people as a token. Oh, you disenfranchise black people if you ask for voter ID. You're going to disenfranchise black people. They're not going to have representation because of the redistricting efforts that have just been going on in favor of the Republicans. But okay, if you guys have been our representation all this time, why is it that our communities still have not come up? Go anywhere across the state, specifically where black people live, and the communities look the same. Poverty stricken, trash all over the place, just it's backwards, just put it that way. So for the same party, even Jasmine Crockett, she was over the South Dallas district in Texas, and that area, crime ridden, poverty ridden. Okay, while you're on television every day talking about white supremacy, okay, you're not even doing anything to work on behalf of uplifting black people, since you are so adamant against white supremacy. Why aren't you using your position to bring your people up? You're not, because the same party that you represent is the same party that's using you to claim that y'all are this way while at the same time keeping your people down. I can never respect that. And that's why we get caught up in, oh, when a person is black, you're supposed to be black for them. No, we thought that with Obama, because he was black. We voted for him, most of us, until we saw and learned what he was actually about. Just because a person is your color does not mean that they are for you.
And founded by a Democrat, Nathan Bedford Forrest. As historian Eric Foner, himself a Democrat, notes, In effect, the Klan was a military force serving the interests of the Democratic Party. President Woodrow Wilson, a Democrat, shared many views with the Klan. He resegregated many federal agencies and even screened the first movie ever played at the White House, the racist film, The Birth of a Nation, originally entitled The Klansman. A few decades later, the only serious congressional opposition to the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1964 came from Democrats. 80% of Republicans in Congress supported the bill, less than 70% of Democrats did. Democratic senators filibustered the bill for 75 days until Republicans mustered the few extra votes needed to break the logjam. And when all of their efforts to enslave blacks, keep them enslaved, and then keep them from voting had failed, the Democrats came up with a new strategy. If black people are going to vote, they might as well vote for Democrats. As President Lyndon Johnson was purported to have said about the Civil Rights Act, I'll have them voting Democrat for 200 years. So now, the Democratic Party prospers on the votes of the very people it has spent much of its history oppressing.
Isn't that something? Prosper from the votes from the very people that it has spent most of its history, to this day too, oppressing. And now more people are waking up to this, which is the reason why they left the border wide open to bring in an influx of immigrants to vote for them in exchange for benefits. Okay, because it's old. When we had the civil rights movement during the 60s, I've said this before, we're 60 years past that, and we're still talking about the same thing: white supremacy, racism, this and that. I mean, if you're going to be stuck on something, and every 4 years you're coming out talking about these same problems, but you have yet to find a solution to the problem, you are the problem. There's no way in the world that you guys can allow millions of illegal immigrants, I'm talking about the Democrat Party, to come in, provide them with benefits. They come over here poor. They get benefits, housing, health care, food stamps, whatever. And within a matter of up to 5 years, they got businesses set up. They drive rolling around in Escalades and Ford F-150s, and they coming up real quick. And they like to say, oh, these people work hard. Well, I'm not going to negate the fact that they work hard, but I'm going to say that it is much easier to get ahead when you are given the opportunity economically. That's something that blacks didn't have. When she talked about pretty much redlining when blacks weren't able to get loans. Okay, that's what's happening today. You got Hispanics or immigrants that come over here. They are able to get business loans. And they come specifically into black areas and set up businesses where black people rarely have any ownership because they were discriminated against through redlining, which is a policy that President Trump removed. So for a guy that's considered to be racist and to uphold white supremacy, that doesn't make sense. Because a racist is going to try to hold you back economically, which is what the Democrat Party has always done and still doing to this day. All you have to do is look at the policies, not what they're saying. Because it sounds right when you hear Jasmine Croft, oh, those white people, white supremacists and this and that, and they've tried to hold back black people. But the problem is that she's saying it as if the people that are actually doing something for black people are white supremacists, compared to the people whose side that she represents, which are not doing anything for black people. That's what you call distorted, deception, straight out lies.
They claim that the Republican Party is the villain, when in reality, it's the failed policies of the Democratic Party that have kept blacks down. Massive government welfare has decimated the black family. Opposition to school choice has kept them trapped in failing schools. Politically correct policing has left black neighborhoods defenseless against violent crime. So when you think about racial equality and civil rights, which political party should come to mind? I'm Carol Swain, professor of political science and law at Vanderbilt University for Prager University.
Which party? So now, after you know all of that, then you know which party should come to mind, which should be the Democrat Party. Okay, and that's what the whole thing, you guys, truth versus reality. They always try to find a way to turn something upside down and inside out, make right seem wrong, make wrong seem right. But the truth is always going to be the truth, no matter how much a person tries to get around it. The truth is the truth. And the way that the enemy works is through deception. I'm coming subtly. I'm going to tell you what sounds right, but I'm not giving you the whole scope. That, in my opinion, is how the Democrat Party comes. They come talking the righteous talk. Black people need rights, and they are disenfranchised. But who have disenfranchised them more than you guys? So I just hope that, more people continue to wake up, because it's one thing to have a personal, dislike for a person or whatever. But just because you don't like a person, like many people on the Democrat side that are blacks have an issue with Trump because the Democrat media has told them that he's a racist and for white supremacy. But like I said, it's one thing to deal in your feelings regarding a person, and another thing to deal in facts. And the fact of the matter is, as I've stated on multiple occasions, that a racist is someone that has the ability and the power to hold you back economically. So if any of his policies have done that, then you could say that. But I haven't seen any of his policies that have done that. But I have seen several on the left Democrat side that has, and that is the truth. So that's my thoughts on it, you guys. Let me know yours in the comment section, and I'll see you later.